Welcome to SwillinGrog's wonderful world of beer. It's just me this time, and I'll be reviewing a beer that Gez sent me, Suntory Magnum Dry, 5% alcohol by volume, brewed and canned by the Suntory Brewing Co. in China. Now, aside from the obvious comparisons one would make to Asahi Super Dry, Suntory Magnum Dry is also a Japanese brew that's brewed in another Asian country and imported into Australia. It, would be nice to get the genuine article, one day. Also, when I think about it, Sapporo is brewed in Canada and imported here, and I think Kirin is actually made locally, obviously, at the 4X brewery that they own nowadays. So it would be nice to, get some actual, Japanese imports, one of these days. I mean, aside from those, 1 litre and 2 litre cans of Asahi that show up sometimes at Dan Murphy's. Anyway, without further ado, I think it's high time that we cracked open this lovely 500ml can of Suntory Magnum Dry and poured it out into the Spiegelau lager glass and made an assessment. Alright, let's hope it makes a decent crack. It wasn't that impressive. There was some nice smoke coming out of there. Alright, so I'm just giving it a relatively gentle pour into this lager glass. Okay. Okay, there we go. So let's make an assessment of the appearance, as we always do. Well, the appearance, you could say, is a very pale golden colour with, a high amount of carbonation. There's a lot of bubbles streaming to the top there. A decent amount of fluffy white head. I think it was about 2 fingers when I poured it, but sadly it's dissipating, very quickly. Yeah, so on to the aroma, I guess. Alright. Well, what I'm picking up is, a faint aroma of sweet grains. And that's about it, really. No, there's really not much else there. Okay, well that does bring us to the most important part of the review, the taste test. So cheers to you all, and a huge cheers to Gez for sending me this brew. Okay, well, as expected, it has a very, drying finish. Up front, I'm tasting, the presence of those, sweet malts. But, in saying that, the taste, is quite mild. Yeah, there's, definitely a noticeable presence of, adjuncts, in the flavour. It's very thin and watery. Yeah, and it does have an almost soda water-like taste to it as well. Anyway, I do need to have another gulp. Alright, well as I'm drinking it, it's becoming more watery. I'm picking up a somewhat sickly sort of taste of sour green apple there, and there's also a sort of metallic taste that sort of lingers in the palate as well. So yeah, I mean that sort of upfront taste of the sweet malts is gone, and what sort of remains here is, I suppose you could say, just a very watery, metallic, dull sort of sour green apple taste. I mean, yeah, it's quite horrible, and it's also quite bland. Yeah, it's not one that I would recommend. Now, in terms of its drinkability, it's going to still be high. I mean, you know, it's so watery that yeah, you're just going to be able to like throw these back. I would say that it's also something that you know, you could session, but you know, I'd hate to think of you know, the headache that awaits you the next day from this. Goodness knows what it you know, really does comprise of. Anyway, I think I'll have another gulp and give it my final thoughts and a score out of 10. Alright, well, sadly, Suntory Magnum Dry is quite a disappointing brew. It's, you know, quite flavourless, quite bland. I mean, you know, there are those typical kind of lager characteristics initially, but you know, what you'd mostly be tasting, you know, after you drink a few of these is just, you know, what equates to, you know, beer soda water. It's, yeah, it's just awful. In terms of a score out of 10, I would have to give it a 4. It's pretty bad. So, yeah, it's one to avoid, folks. Thank you for joining me, and hopefully I will see you all next time. So until then, fare thee well, all.